What do Prince Charles, Kate Middleton, Oprah Winfrey, Roseanne Barr, Julia Roberts, Reese Witherspoon, Michelle Obama, Sting, and Ringo Starr all have in common? Gardening. We're living in a crazy, stressful time, unlike anything in history right now, and I'm going to tell you why you should plant a victory garden. But first, what is a victory garden? Chelsea Davis explains in Everything You Need to Know About Starting Your COVID-19 Victory Garden in Forbes magazine that during World War II, there was rationing widespread across the country, and it's estimated that up to 40% of all of the nation's fresh produce was grown in backyard gardens. You may have family members who started gardening during World War II and continue gardening throughout their entire lives. My grandparents did. Obviously, rationing isn't a reality right now, other than a few initial pandemic buys. We're not really in need for food. We have plenty. But there are other reasons to garden. Chief amongst them is stress relief. In fact, there are several studies that suggest that gardening not only helps with stress, but depression. In the relationship between gardening and depression amongst individuals with disabilities, Wilson and Christensen note that even short outings outside in gardens have a positive impact on emotions. However, it goes even deeper than that. Gardening provides a form of exercise. Don't believe me? Spend some time outside pulling some weeds. If you want a real challenge, come over and help me remove a diseased rose bush. Plus, if you spend some time outside, you get fresh air and vitamin D, both a bonus and great for your immune system. Gardening also is a form of a connection to the past. Remember how I talked to you about my grandparents and gardening? Whenever I tend my flower beds in the front yard, I think about my grandmother and her flower beds in Indiana and how she lovingly tended to them when I was a little girl. When I go to my vegetable garden in my backyard to get my tomatoes and pull them, I have learned to dress head to toe in long sleeves and pants. See, I've learned that I have the same reaction to tomato leaves that I have to poison ivy. And I remember that my grandfathers, both gardeners, would dress in head to toe long sleeves and pants no matter how hot it was outside whenever they would garden. It's like they knew something. So how many of us would have memories of summertime spent with our grandparents shucking peas or snapping green beans? That connection to our past can also transfer into a connection with our future because we can teach our children the joys of gardening. Every summer or every spring, my husband and I will have our daughter come out and help us plant seeds and onions. And we teach her how to keep up with the garden. And not only that, but you can use it to memorialize people. We planted a rose bush in the backyard when her grandmother died, Mimi's rose bush, and I'm happy to say that Mimi's rose bush has not succumbed to rose rosette disease. You can also use your harvest to share with your friends and family, and that's another connection you can make. Sharing the fruits of your labor with your friends and family brings about a connection by sharing your overabundance of your produce. There's nothing more pleasing to people than getting a big pile of tomatoes on a nice summer day for their salads and salsa. As explained in the Benefits of Gardening, an exploratory study of middle-aged women in New Zealand, Gardening also provides time for reflection and problem solving, as well as spiritual relationship with nature and earth. Something we probably all need a little bit more of right now. And there's something natural and primal about getting your hands dirty and feeling the earth between your fingers. It provides a connection to nature and a sense of oneness. So you're probably saying, well, that's great, but I don't have a big yard. You don't need a huge yard. You don't need a huge garden. All you really need is a few pots and some good soil. A nice sunny spot, a few seeds or starter plants, maybe a tree depending on what you want to plant. And the best part is, it isn't too late. Fall gardening season is just around the corner. So it's the right time to get your soil prepped for green beans, cabbage, and pumpkins. And the best part of all of this is, because of COVID-19, there are a ton of free Facebook classes available to everyone on websites like Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and there are classes coming up every day for a variety of topics, from building soaker hose systems to planting vegetable gardens to creating flower beds and landscapes, even turf building for your yard. So grab a shovel, get some seeds, and let's get to planting.